Good afternoon, friends. Hello. Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for a little bit late meeting after 10 minutes late because already I have started the session, but it was the privacy was related with only me, and that's why their problem happened. So I'm starting it again. We are meeting today for the similar continuous session of biocombinations, understanding the biocombinations. And prior to it, there are few questions which are asked. So first question was there that when should we change Calcarea fluor 6x to 12x and when 12x is needed. Basically, when you are giving the Calcarea fluor, in fact any inorganic salt, in every inorganic salt, Schussler had said that it is necessary to give it in a 6x potency because that is correlated with the daily requirement of that salt, or that is a body quantity at the molecular level of that salt, and that's why it is not needed every time that you have to go more than that fine. And that's why generally 6x potency is sufficient to be utilized in every problem. I myself is using the Schussler's favorite potency, that is the 6x in my practice. I don't have even a 3x also or 12x also. Whatever I am having, it is in the biocombinations. There you can get 3x or 12x in the combinations. Generally we don't need the 12x potency in day-to-day practice. So my suggestion is that when you start with the 6x potency, it will remain to be it will be a 6x potency, and you don't have to change the potency immediately or afterwards also. Only thing is that whether how much to repeat and how many days you have to repeat, that you have to decide on from the patient, as well as it depends upon what type of pathology you are treating. So that was the first question asked regarding this biochemics. And one more question was there: after miscarriage of 6 weeks, if the both fallopian tubes are blocked, what is the biochemic remedy or what is the biocombination we are going to use? First important thing, that you should not fix a remedy. It depends, it varies. You have to deal with the patient, you have to understand that patient, why that patient is having blockage in the fallopian tubes. That is more important question. Generally, whenever the fallopian tubes are blocked, they are blocked because of the psychotic dyscrasia, that is the psychotic miasm. Most common reason behind that is the psychotic miasm. So in your total 12 tissue remedies, which is the most psychotic remedy? Everyone knows it is the natrum sulfuricum. So I will think in that direction, but it is not only the thing. If there is a fibrosis which happens to be there because of tuberculosis over there, if it is a fibrosis because of some infective focus over there, then Silicea plays a very vital role at that time. Sometimes if it becomes harder, you can think of a Calcarea fluor also. So accordingly you have to select. You don't have to select, or you don't have to make it fixed that this is the remedy for tubal blockage. You use your logic. What may be the reason? Generally you get such types of reasons that blockage of the fallopian tubes is because of the infective focus over there. It is most commonly the psychosis, very occasionally a tubercular. If it is psychotic, think about the natrum sulf, the Silicea. If it is tubercular, think of the Silicea along with Calcarea fos and a Calcarea fluor. So this is how you have to think when you are dealing with the patients. Don't fix the remedy in your mind. Yes, this is for this. It is not like that. It is not allopathy. Here you have to consider the exact reason behind that, and that's why investigating a case is very important, very essential, so that you can understand what may be the patient's problem, and accordingly you can think, you use your logic. So that was the second question. Only 2 questions were asked in the group regarding the these biochemics and biocombination. We'll go ahead with the 3 more biocombinations today. The first will revise just a short review. The first number, anemia, we have discussed. Anemia, the 4 ingredients are there, out of which 3 the calcarea phos, the natrium muriaticum, the ferrum phos, but along with that kali phos is there. Then we have done second one, that is the second is the asthma. When we think about the asthma, there are 2 important ingredients one must know. There must be a natrium sulfuricum. In order to tackle the spasm, there should be a MAC phos. In order to tranquilize the patient, to get him release or relax, the kali phos should be there. And one more ingredient where the secretions happens to be there, the natrium mur should be there. The third biocombination, that is the colic, which we have discussed, and we have discussed in detail about the colic combination, because it not only contains the MAC phos, but it contains the calcarea phos also. And calcarea phos is very important remedy in order to understand the tubercular focus inside the patient. So if there is an infective focus inside the abdomen, so calcarea phos is there, the ferrum phos is there. Then one more remedy which is very essential in that is the natrium sulfuricum. That is the third remedy which one has to think about whenever you are prescribing for the colic. And so colic, it is not just giving a MAC phos to the patient. You have to think before prescribing what may be the reason behind the colic. Then one more combination which we have discussed in detail is the constipation. Constipation as such, because of paralytic feature, it is definitely a silicea which should be there. Then second important ingredient which is necessary that to throw away or to dissolve that, what is required is the natrium sulfuricum, natrium muriaticum. Then third ingredient which plays role very important in the fibers around the intestine, large intestine, and because of which the contraction happens is the calcarea fluor, that should be there in the 4th number. And 4th ingredient which must be there is the kali muriaticum. So these are 4 important ingredients with which you can learn, understand the number 4 combination for the constipation. Then we have compared the number 5 and number 6, because there are number of ingredients which are common with the 5 and 6. 5 we have discussed regarding the coryza. Yes, for the coryza, ferrum phos and kali mur, these are quite common indications, quite common ingredients. And third ingredient which is common in 5 and 6 is the natrium muriaticum. These are quite common between the 5th and 6th. 5th is coryza, 6th is cup. But out of the other ingredients, other inorganic salt, one important which is there in the 5th is kali sulfuricum, where yellowish discharge happens to be there from the nose. Kali sulf plays very vital role in specifically in coryza, whereas when you consider about the cup, and if it is a wet cup, the associated with the spasm, the MAC phos should be there. So along with MAC phos, the greenish expectoration which is covered with the help of a natrium sulfuricum. So in 6 number combination we have 5 ingredients, the 3 common to the coryza, and that is ferrum phos, kali mur and natrium mur. Remaining 2 are very important, the natrium sulfuricum and the MAC phos, to relieve the spasm. I told you that generally whenever you are using 6, should be used for the wet cup, productive cup, and if you are giving 6, there is no need to give the 5. If the patient is having cough and coryza simultaneously, think of 6 only, and that is sufficient in order to tackle that curve. Then we in detail we have discussed the homeopathic therapeutics of the diabetes, because 7 number is the diabetes mellitus, and this combination is very essential whenever the patient has the psychotic diabetes mellitus, because generally it is psychotubercular in condition. Miasm is psychotubercular, and that's why in the 7-number combination you have the natrum sulfuricum, most important ingredient, then another ingredient which is the calcarea phos. It happens because of pancreatitis, the ferrum phos, which covers the inflammatory stage. Then the natrum phos, very important ingredient in the pancreas, and which is one of the important factor in order to stimulate the insulin secretion, or without the natrum phos, the insulin secretion gets suppressed. And last ingredient again added over there in diabetes mellitus in order to produce or stop the stress, because stress induced insulin suppression happens. That's why kaliphosphoricum is there. So this was the short revision regarding those ingredients which we have learned, and those 7 biocombination. Today we'll go ahead with the 3 more. The first important is the number 8, that is labeled by the name of a diarrhea. 9 is the dysentery. It looks very close, and number of students or number of peoples never understand the difference between what diarrhea and dysentery. Diarrhea is generally a loose stools or a frequency of a stools, normal stools increases, it is a diarrhea. If it is associated with the mucoid stools, or sometimes if it is associated with mucus plus blood, it is a dysentery. In case of amoebic dysentery, you will have more mucus. Very occasionally it is a bloody dysentery, but generally when you deal with the bacillary dysentery, you will have more blood associated with the mucus. So you have to differentiate between two important things, the diarrhea and dysentery. Now think about it, what may be the ingredients which are necessary in order to tackle the diarrhea? So what are common things which you can get, or which should be there in the diarrhea combination? Because unless we understand it in this way, we cannot locate what exactly the remedy, which are the remedies which are essential and which acts in that way. 3 ingredients which one must know, because these 3 are the phosphorus elements. First is the calcarea phos, the second is the ferrum phos, and third is the kali phos in the diarrhea. See, 3 phos are there, whereas when you compare it with the dysentery, there are again 3 phos, but they vary. In case of a diarrhea, they are ferrum phos, calcarea phos, and third is the kali phos. If you compare it with the dysentery, there are 3 phos. There is a ferrum phos which is common in both. There is a kali phos which is common in both. But calcarea phos is not there in case of dysentery, but there is a mac phos. So why this difference is there? In dysentery, there is a spasm. There is a colicky pain. And that colicky pain is associated with the stools. Then those stools are mucoid types of stools with sometimes bloody. So mac phos plays a very important role to tackle that in biocombination 9. But when you think of the diarrhea only, these 3 phos are there because it is ferrum phos is because of first stage of inflammation. The calcarea phos is there because of if it is related with some infective focus, tubercular focus. Kali phos is to relieve the spasm, and sometimes kali phos also plays a role very essentially on the intestine itself and relaxes the intestine. So to tackle the diarrhea, kali phos plays a very vital role. 2 important ingredients which are there along with this phos is, the first one is kali sulfuricum and second one is the natrum sulfuricum. Natrum sulfuricum is very important remedy because natrum sulfuricum is remedy in eliminative processes. Interstitial fluid when increases, it maintains that balance. Second important thing, it is a psychotic remedy. And that's why the psychotic element behind the diarrhea is there. For example, all autoimmune disorders comes under the sphere of psychotic miasm. We generally get IBS patients in our practice, irritable bowel syndrome, and when you understand or ask them the cause, it is always said that this is generally autoimmune or it is psychosomatic. So this psychosomatic condition can be tackled with the help of a kali phosphoricum and natrum sulfuricum. So in diarrhea combination, natrum sulfuricum is very important remedy, and what remaining is the kali sulfuricum. Kali sulfuricum itself acts basically on the intestine, and it absorbs the water from there, from the villi, and it tackles the diarrhea. So these are 5 important ingredients which are used in this biocombination number 8. So diarrhea of any origin, diarrhea of a general because of a common origin, diarrhea is there because of some change in food habits, that can be tackled with the biocombination number 8. Or if it is of a tubercular origin, that can be tackled with the same remedies, that is biocombination number 8. If it is because of stress induced, generally we used to get stress diarrhea, which is also called as a nervous diarrhea. In homeopathy we consider the gelsemium or argentum nitricum. Think about this same remedy 8 number. But if the quality of stool is different, you have to think about another remedy, that is the dysentery combination, biocombination number 9. Now here are 3 phos. Just now we have discussed the param phos is common, the kali phos is common, mac phos is a different ingredient. Along with that, one important ingredient which plays very vital role in dysentery is kali muriaticum, because it is an exudate. It is a secondary stage of inflammation which happens to be there. So first and second stage of inflammation, along with a discharge of a mucus per rectum. Think about this 9 number combination. Whenever patient comes to you with an acute diarrhea and dysentery, patient is not able to differentiate exactly whether it is a diarrhea or dysentery. And first question you ask whether it is a diarrhea or whether it is a dysentery. You ask one question, whether stools are watery or whether the stools are mucoid. And if patient says they are mucoid, sometimes blood is passed, then you must think about the biocombination 9 instead of 8. And generally, in my experience, I used to use 9 more than 8, more than that of 8. So 9 plays a very vital role in tackling those acute states. Now, it is some practical hints I want to share. In day-to-day practice, if you are in a busy practitioner and patient comes with a gastroenteritis, the first remedy should stuck to your mind is always an arsenic album. If it is associated with the pain, if it is associated with the mucus, then another remedy which you can think about it is the aloes. And along with that, biocombination number 9, 95% of diarrhea dysentery settles with these remedies. Then for remaining 5, so make it simple first. My suggestion is that you must find it out the simple first, then go ahead with the difficult one. If you are these remedies never act, then think about the croton tick, then you think about the podophyllum, whatever it may be, gambogia, whatever the simillimum might be. But think from simple to a little bit difficult, so that you can understand remedies very easily and you can keep those in your mind very easily. So these remedies plays very vital role in such types of acute disorders, along with biocombination number 9. So if patients of diarrhea, dysentery are there in your OPD, make a habit of using this biocombination 9 and tell them that this is a good remedy for dysentery. Patient starts using the dysentery remedy again and again. They themselves uses them like allopathic medicine, and this is the habit which you have to develop. Then you develop an acute practice. Yeah, I have developed acute practice. In 1996-95, I have made a first aid box, my own first aid box. I have labeled it with certain names and I have given it to the patients. This is a gift, you must keep it with you for such and such problem. You use all those things, and then patients started using all of them, all those common remedies in first aid box. Automatically they started using for fever the ferrum phosphoricum, and they are happy. Then they said, doctor, you have done lot very good work for us. We don't have to go anywhere, we don't have to borrow crocin, we don't have to borrow any remedy from the medical stores. It has been stopped completely. And this has created in their mind, yes, homeopathy acts for the acute disorders also. It was blamed, homeopathy is always blamed that homeopathy is the line medicinal treatment only for the chronics. It's not so. We can tackle acutes very easily, in fact more fast than even allopathic medicine, if we are able to choose the remedy in a proper way. And in treating the acutes, these biochemics and biocombinations plays very vital role. So I suggest that go through all those combinations again and again and find it out how you can use them in your practice. Now we have learned biocombination number 9. What it contains? It contains ferrum phos, it contains kalimur, it contains kaliphos, it contains macphos. Now you think yourself that other than dysentery, where I can use this combination? Think in a different manner. If a patient comes to you with a herpes zoster and he is having a typical vesicular eruptions where the inflammatory stage is there, the pain is of a severe character, he is becoming restless, and you require ferrum phos kalimur. I have given you the combination Rustox, ferrum phos kalimur, definitely works. But to tackle the pain as well as to relieve him, these 4 ingredients helps a lot. So along with Rustox, if you give biocombination number 9, that can also be useful. So such a type of logic you have to utilize when you are treating the patients. So it is not, you should not give the name, yes, this is only for dysentery. You can utilize same combination with the help of your logic for a certain ingredient, certain disorders. So in such types of cases, you can use them very easily. Another entity where I used to use this combination, where I require this first and second stage of inflammation along with the pain, along with the frustration, along with the restlessness. So I used to use it in the eruptive types of fevers. If it is not of a pustular origin and they are very early comes to you with a pain, this remedy plays a very vital role. So think in that way, that when you are prescribing, just why I am prescribing, just think over it and you can get the combination. Yes, this combination is like that and you can use for that also. Then last one which we have to discuss today, that is the enlarged tonsillitis, the biocombination number 10. Generally everyone whenever everyone tries to utilize the biocombination, they utilize this with their name. But these combinations are very, very essential according to different disease conditions if you understand those ingredients of them. So when we think about the biocombination 10 number, that is the enlarged tonsil, what should be the remedies which should struck your mind? The first remedy which is there is always a ferrum phos. Why? It is an inflammatory remedy. So ferrum phos should be there. The first stage of inflammation can be covered. Second stage of inflammation must be covered. So kalimur should be there. That is the another remedy which should be there. Then the third stage of inflammation or pustular tonsillitis, quinsy, or there may be it is called as a septic tonsillitis, which number of times patient comes to you in that condition. Cilicia is another ingredient which is essential to tackle this condition. But along with those, there are two more ingredients which are important. It is not the streptococcal or staphylococcal infection. Number of times different infections also causes the tonsillitis, and it is not only the tonsillitis, it is a pharyngitis, can be covered with the similar same medicine. So there are two more ingredients which are there in this combination. One is the Calcarea fos. This Calcarea fos having very important role because it covers the scrofulous diathesis over there. Tonsil is the gland. Tonsil is the gland, and in that glandular affections, Calcarea fos plays very vital role. So whenever the glandular affections are there, there might be a lymphatic glands or there might be any glandular affection, and if it is associated with the tubercular focus or a tubercular constitution, think about the Calcarea fos. So tonsillitis of a septic origin you can treat with the same combination. Tonsillitis with acute origin you can treat with the same combination. If it is very early stage, just an inflammation, you think about simple ingredient Ferrum pos instead of this combination. And last one, which is another content of this enlarged tonsil, is the Calcarea fluor. Sometimes it happens there might be a deposition of a membrane over there, and it might be a diphtheritic focus, it might be sometimes a quinsy, it might be a fibrous band over there. At that time, Calcarea fluor plays very vital role in this enlarged tonsils, and that's why that is also added in this in biocombination number 10. Now you have considered, you have seen over there that Ferrum pos is there, Calimur is there, Calcarea fos is there, Calcarea fluor is there, along with the silicia is there. This combination you can use in bony pathologies also. Think over it. In with this 26, what is the difference between 26 and 10? In 26, which are the ingredients which we have learned? 26, it contains the Calcarea fluor, it contains the Calcarea fos, it contains the MAC fos, and it contains the Ferrum fos, Kali fos over there. So you can have another thought in your mind. If it contains both the fos, Calcarea fos along with Calcarea fluor, along with the Ferrum fos, along with the Calimur, so first stage inflammation, second stage inflammation, third stage inflammation, along with the Calcarea fluor, Calcarea fos, why not it should be a remedy for osteomyelitis? Why not it can be used for the focused or infective focus inside the joints or in the joints? Why should not it be one of the important remedy whenever there is the compound fracture? Because silicia also is there. So compound fracture is there where there is infective focus, and that infective focus, to throw away that infective focus along with the inflammatory changes, again you have to develop over there the callus over there, and in order to prevent degeneration. All those ingredients are very essential. So biocombination number 10 is not only the enlarged tonsil, but it can be a very essential remedy for in order to use in such types of cases. So when you are thinking about the biocombination, you should not think that it is only for the enlarged tonsil. So we have up till now we have learned the first, second, third, 10 biocombination, and every biocombination with its ingredient we have learned. Now I have given you the homework that you write it down, right in front of that what are the contents, and then in which potency they are there. So if you go over it again and again, and you start thinking, what is essential is to think, and that is more important. If you start thinking, you can think about different pathologies and application of those combinations in your practice. So logic plays very important role when you use the biocombinations and biochemics. Second important thing is regarding this is that when you are thinking about the biocombination, don't think on the from homeopathic point of view. When you are using it on the basis of pathophysiological action, or that is called as a physiological chemical data, then only you can think with these biocombinations with those indications. It should not be a similimum, homeopathic similimum. If you want to use those remedies on the basis of homeopathic similimum, then you have to read the what is the materia medica which it has produced after proving it on healthy human being, and compare it with the Sussler's thought or Sussler's idea of physiologico-chemical data, compare it with that, and then find it out the difference. You will have a lot of difference between his understanding and the homeopathic understanding of the remedy. So these are two different issues. The all 12 remedies which are there in homeopathy and which are there also in the 12 tissue salts. Application varies from 12 tissue salts to the homeopathy, and that's why accordingly you have to choose the potency, accordingly you have to choose the biocombination. So this is what up till now we have discussed. Tomorrow we'll continue with 5 more biocombinations from 11 to 15. Till that period, go through them again and again, learn them by heart so that you can understand them in a proper manner and you start using very easily or frequently in your practice. If queries are there, put it early so that we can discuss those queries. What happens generally, you send it at last moment, so I cannot think over it. My suggestion is that you send it today only so that we can discuss all the queries. And again, for all of you, subscribe the channel and go through the previous videos on biocombinations and biochemics so that you will get the idea about it in detail, and then you can go ahead with the remaining biocombinations. Till that period, thank you very much and thanks for attending the sessions. We'll meet tomorrow at the same time. Thanks a lot.